Hi, my name is Diane Weinberg, and I'm with Weinberg Elder Law, a elder law firm located in Sandy Springs, Georgia. And today I'm here to talk to you about representing individuals with mental illness and their families. Now, we have this issue that comes up a lot in elder law, believe it or not. Even though the name is elder law, it actually encompasses people of all ages who have some sort of disability that impacts their long-term care. And I'm going to give you three scenarios that we deal with often or typically. First is the scenario where somebody comes in and they have a mental illness and that individual is seeking help for a family member who is elderly, who is suffering some kind of financial abuse or suffers from some other condition. In this case that I'm thinking of, I had a client who came to see me who suffered significant paranoid delusions. People left messages on her doorstep by the way they arranged the rocks or the sticks in her yard. I mean, and she constantly was having the police come out because of fictional break-ins into her apartment. But she noticed that her mother, who was living with her brother, was not receiving appropriate care. Her mother was not going to doctor's appointments. Her mother's clothing was torn and ragged. Her mother didn't have proper underclothes. Her mother's clothing was also being kept in a storage, essentially outside. And her brother was in the process of using her mother's funds to purchase luxury items for himself, as well as to deed the house to his own name. Just because she was mentally ill didn't mean she was wrong. And in this case, we needed to advocate for her because her mental illness was obvious, but people didn't want to listen to her because, again, she was mentally ill. Another time that we have challenges with mental illness is when we are trying to obtain assistance, we're trying to help family members help those individuals with mental illness. And sometimes the individuals with mental illness, there are things we can do to make them more comfortable with the process, because the process of guardianship and conservatorship is a difficult process. And just because somebody is mentally ill doesn't mean that they don't understand what's going on, that we're talking about taking away their fundamental rights. But there are things we can do that can make them more comfortable. For example, very recently, I had a client who was trying to obtain a guardianship for his sister who was significantly mentally ill. We had a hearing, and the hearing was done by Zoom, just like a lot of courts today are holding hearings virtually. She showed up for the hearing at the courthouse and not by Zoom. Well, as it turns out, she didn't trust computers. They made her uncomfortable, and it fed into her mental illness. So when the court rescheduled the hearing, instead of holding it by Zoom, we made a special request that the court hold the hearing at the courthouse. And sure enough, she showed up for her hearing. She defended herself. She was able to articulate her concerns, and we made her comfortable for the process for her, and we allowed her voice to be heard. And to me, that's every bit as important as making sure she gets appropriate protection. Sometimes a third issue we deal with is sometimes people come in and we're actually not dealing with somebody who's mentally ill, but rather we're dealing with somebody who has eccentricities or physical impairment. So we represented an individual who had lost his rights under guardianship and conservatorship. And it turned out he didn't have a mental illness. He had a hearing loss. He couldn't hear what was going on around him. So his responses to questions were inappropriate, and people assumed that he didn't understand the world around him. But when I sat down and accommodated him, I would either handwrite things or I would type it on the computer and turn the computer around. His responses were perfectly appropriate. Also, a lot of his concepts about the world were just different. He was a very eccentric personality. Eccentricity doesn't mean somebody's mentally ill, it just means that they're different. But the combination was enough to land him in an unnecessary guardianship and conservatorship, and we were able to get that process reversed. So again, this is dealing with mental illness and dealing with clients that are mentally ill poses its own unique set of challenges, and it's something we are well equipped to deal with at Weinberg Elder Law. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our office, and thank you again for your time today.